we can move on to the second speaker, who is Professor Tomonori Ichinose of Miyagi University of Education in Japan. He will share with us his experience in trying to rebuild education for people and children affected by the earthquake and tsunami that took place in March 2011 in the northern part of Japan.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, my name is Tomonori Ichinose, but this is complicated and long. Please call me Tom if you have any questions after my presentation, or you can call me Ich. So, Ichiro is very famous in this forum. I'm not famous as Ichiro, but call me Ichi will be both okay. So, I'm working in the very small University of Education in Japan. My university, our university is just 100 faculty and 1,000 students, and very, very small University of Education. And located in the north part of Japan. And so our ordinary life was broken 5 years ago. So that's happened. The huge tsunami wave attacked us, and that is the March 11, 2011. So this is a picture of that is a newspaper company take to us. And this tsunami is so huge and so big. Actually, the earthquake, that scale of earthquake is big, but there is no big attacks to us. But this huge tsunami attacked us a lot of damages. So at first, I'm very happy to be here to share the information together with the participants from East Asia countries and Southeast Asian countries. As you know, in our areas, we have a lot of natural disasters, including earthquakes, tsunamis, flood, volcano explosion, and landsliding, and so on. So it is very lucky to be here and sharing information about natural disasters. And most of the disasters is caused by the climate change. Climate change is also the topic of our UNESCO or United Nations. So that tsunami was reached 4 kilometers inside of the land. And after the tsunami, all of the villages and small cities were all washed away and broken. So this is the pictures at the time. So the scale is the maximum seismic intensity was 7. This is so big, but after the earthquakes, the tsunami come over to us. The tsunami is so high, the maximum height of the tsunami was, they say, reached to 40 meters. So 40 meters, just some like the same height as a 6th floor of the buildings. And this is the picture of the one of the school. The school is close to the sea coastal areas. And at the time of the tsunami was reached to the 2nd floors, and all of the residents around this school escaped to the schools, and 300 people arrived in these school buildings. So the school is sometimes just something like a lifeboat floating in the communities. And this picture is they escaped from the tsunami wave after the disaster, the day after the disasters. And as you know, so unfortunately, Fukushima radiation contamination issues successively happened. I don't know if you know much more, but this is so serious. So this is not a natural disaster. That is the man-made disasters, but affected us not only 1 year, 2 years, but also 30 years, or sometimes 100 years. So what is the number of the children evacuated from the disaster stricken areas? This is the total number of the victims about 20,000 people are missing. And students, about 700, around 700 students were lost. And the number of the 700 schools, buildings is damaged. And so the topic of this conference is out of school children. Children evacuated from the disaster stricken area is almost 25,000. And this number is including escaped from the Fukushima radiation contamination areas. That number is almost 20,000. And orphaned and the children left after their parents' death, its total number is 1,700. And this, those numbers included a lot of children of special needs and sometimes a special of minority background. So one of the schools was strongly affected, and in these schools, about 78 students. This school is a small number school, a very small scale school, and totally almost all the students were washed away by this attack. So after the earthquake, the children did not have much clothes after the earthquakes and had to go to school wearing jerseys and without textbook, notebook, and pencil. And in addition, at the time passed after the earthquake, some students had to face the devastated situation and suffered from, so as the Philippine professor said, post-traumatic stress disorders, and suffered from poor performance. And because students are out of the school and moved to other schools, and they showed a very poor performance because they could not get used to the new schools. So this is the damage of, the damage is not only the school, but also spread in local communities, collapse of school buildings, decrease of children and students, and suffering teachers. Teachers is almost died. In our district, almost 70 students were lost by these earthquakes. And what should I do after those huge scale of disasters? As you know, the initial support is one of the keys. So volunteers strive provide support and commodities from within the nations and other countries. So the commodities comes from in the nations, and sometimes this international society helps us a lot. And I sincerely thanks to all your support at the time of the earthquakes. And we are the relay point to provide commodity support, sometimes a distribution of rice, and sometimes we work for lava removal and traffic and network reconstruction, etc. And this is the first period after short term. We have to do those works. And the next is the reconstruction, medium and long-term support. We also provide the medium and long-term support by visiting those damaging areas. To support those areas, we have to acknowledge the needs of the school and providing direct support. And in these areas, academic ability differences, emotional stress or psychological trauma, all these are the difficulties in these areas. And this is our practice. After the earthquake and the tsunami, I say I'm working in one of the small University of Education. We started to provide the support immediately after the earthquakes. After the 2 months, we built the research and support center. We call it the Recovery of Education Centers that is settled in our universities. So this is not clear and confusing so much Japanese languages, but our aim is for the recovery of educations. we should have to do a lot of work, especially academic assurance and development for those affected students is most important. Learning assistant to the children and students, sometimes support to the teachers, support and collaborate with provide programs to the communities. And we sometimes work together with other universities. We accumulate a much number of young people, mainly the university students, and send them to the schools to help and assist those affected schools. So this is our chart of our organizations, our support centers. One of the key points is we link together with the local city board of educations and a network of national universities and collaborate with UNESCO or other international institutions. This is the picture. I have no time to explain to visit the Fukushima radiation contamination areas. And I know your question. You want to ask me what is the effect and evaluation of this support work. And this is the volunteers' voice. Actually, to be honest, we cannot remove. And so their solos, children's solos, is so deep. Sometimes there is a big gap between them and volunteers. So this is the voice of the volunteers. And they say that even during the break time, many children told me about the stories of the earthquake and their actual tsunami experiences. And even though the expressions and the tone of voice were cheerful, what they told me was really vivid, and I again realized how deep their emotional damages were. And this is the another voice of the volunteers. When they are solving problems, and our university student helped us, they told me the stories about his family's reaction of the earthquakes and tsunamis that hit the areas, and his grandmother's death in the tsunami. At the time, I could not say a word. So there is a big difference, and we cannot solve all of the sorrows for them. So this is the one of the statistics that shows that after 5 years has passed, that is recovered well or not. This is the number before the disaster, and the red line past the red line, that is the after the disasters. So you can see we cannot recover well. Many people need the fund support to go to schools because the local society was damaged so badly. And I make a model of the disasters, so provide you the information when the disaster happened, what we should do. So the disasters happened, the center area of the disasters, the schools are directly affected and isolated. And after the disaster, school districts were obsolete and schools were abolished sometimes. And the middle areas, schools are located in the suffered area and the safe areas. School building and school grounds are used as a temporary housing for a long period, and we could not use the school ground. And far away, backyard of the back hinterland of the earthquake, school located in the safety area near the affected areas. These areas, after the disaster, they played a core role in the consolidation of the disaster-affected schools. Students, so out of the school, children moved this center point to the hinterland and moved to the safe zones. And in our district, school combination is so serious. And they understand what I say, the school combination. Those villages are destroyed, so the schools are abolished and combined in one in the hinterland of the damaged areas. And nowadays, there are most 1/2 of the schools are combined. And so how to work together local communities. This is one of the key points. So we are now working for the education for sustainable development. As you know, so UNESCO promotes the education for sustainable development. After the decade of the sustainable development, a global action program was started. And the global action program number 5 expressed about the work together with local communities. And we have a lot of UNESCO-associated schools in disaster areas. So we made a consortium systems to support those schools linked with local communities, NPOs, and universities. So this is one of our ministry's policy to make those sustainable areas. And this is our Tohoku region's consortium system. And in those schools, UNESCO-associated school networks, so this is no time to explain those. After this presentation, I can talk more. In those schools, disaster risk reduction education is most important point. And during the earthquakes, relationship between community and school played an important role in establishing and operating evacuation centers. From the experience, local residents have gained an awareness of the school as an imperative part of local communities. So we must work together with local communities. This is the picture to work together with local communities. Sometimes the fire station for the disaster risk reduction. So started a lot of practices, work together with local communities. So this is my conclusion. We will not leave the reality of the student difficulties and problems as they are. Instead, we will continue to provide the support. And we have to establish the disaster prevention programs. And UNESCO's concept of education for sustainable development, the important key concept for us to work together with local communities. Thank you very much. I bring some books. So this book shows some education for sustainable development. Oh, thank you very much. So I keep some books, but I cannot give you. But this book is so expensive. But this book, at the advanced word after the disaster, I can deliver it to you if you are interested in this. So it's my time to be end. Thank you very much for your listening.